Hello, and a very warm welcome to today's podcast show, Your Fertility Counselor. I'm so delighted to have you here because I'm going to meet up with Marie Belin from Cora Holistic Nutrition in Singapore. Marie has been studying nutrition. She is a very passionate learner and researcher, and she has gained so much experience in the field of nutrition in combination with fertility. So, Marie is supporting clients that are trying to conceive naturally and also those with medical assistance. I can't wait to hear what Marie has to share based on her experience and wisdom. So let's get started. A warm welcome to you, Marie, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited and honored to be with you.
Yes, so I'm so much looking forward to get to know all about nutrition today. But before we dive deeper into this topic of your knowledge and expertise,
Yeah.
I just wanted to kick off with a first question that I ask every guest on my podcast. What would be like your typical morning routine to actually get ready for the day? Is there anything in particular that you do?
Yeah, that's funny because morning routine is such a buzz topic, a buzz word right now, but I've always felt very guilty to not be a morning person. I've always struggled with mornings and getting out of bed and everything. So, when you hear all these influencers, YouTubers, podcasters, like, yeah, I get about 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and I get my training done, and then I get my journaling, and then I meditate. I'm like, oh my God, how do these people do that? Well, first of all, I think they go to bed extremely early. Uh, and second of all, I discovered, along my studies and research that we do not all have the same chronotypes. So it's okay if you're not a morning person, and going against your nature, your typical ways, is not necessarily going to benefit you, because I tried doing that and I felt awful, and I tried to exercise first thing in the morning, fasted, and I was feeling awful for the rest of the day. So I just made peace with the fact that I'm not a morning person. That being said, in the morning, I love to, just take a little bit of time, like a few minutes, to breathe before getting up. So trying to set my intentions for the day. And it doesn't have to take very long, it can be 30 seconds, 1 minute, but, just to make peace with the fact that it's okay to take things slow. It's okay to set one or maximum two intentions for the day and just see where life takes us, because there's a lot of unpredictability right in our days. And then my second thing for my morning routine is I immediately open my daughter's door to start waking her up slowly, because unfortunately she's not a morning person either. So she needs a bit of time to get up before preschool. And then I go and boil my water to make my green tea. And whenever she's ready, we just have cuddles on the couch. And then my tea is steeping. And yeah, we love to cuddle for like 5, 10 minutes. She's drinking her milk, and we're cuddling. And then after that, I have my tea. So yeah, that's my morning.
Oh, that's so nice. And it sounds to me that you are getting your beautiful hormones flowing with
Exactly. Some oxytocin to start the day, right?
exactly, exactly. That's the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those that may not know you yet, do you mind to just share a little bit about your background and how your journey went into nutrition, into
Of
this
course.
specific specialty of yours?
Of course, yeah. So for those who don't know me, I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I specialize in women's health, fertility, and everything that's related to hormones. So I started working in nutrition right at the end of COVID, because nutrition was a retraining for me. So initially, I have worked in the corporate world for 13 years, and I have always been passionate about everything nutrition, calories, recipes, experimenting in the kitchen, watching my mom cook. And I didn't know this could actually become a, profession that we could do, because when you're a kid, you don't really know about all the incredible jobs that exist around the world. And I was so passionate about that, but I had no idea what I really wanted to be. So I studied languages, and I have a master's degree in English, French, and Spanish, writing and translation. So that has nothing to do with anything. And I worked for 13 years in big software companies. And something happened when I was in my 20s. I started having a lot of hormonal issues. I was having a lot of cystic acne, um, terrible anxiety, mood swings, insomnia. I mean, I think I was a little depressed, to be honest, but I didn't do anything for my mental health back then. And my hormones were all over the place. And I started to have very painful periods, but also very um, painful episodes between periods. So it was not just during my period. So I started to get worried because I knew this pain was not normal and was not right. And I investigated, with the usual, you go to your GP, they do a few tests, everything comes back normal, but the pain is still there. So, I mean, the whole medical wondering that so many women go through, and the dismissal that you can face with the usual doctors. They either don't have time or don't have the education around these topics. So I felt very frustrated because no one really listened to me and to my concerns. So, you know your body best, right? You've been in your body your whole life. So if you feel something's not right, usually something's not right. So I started researching on my own. I started reading research papers, typing in my symptoms, and I looked into potentially endometriosis, PCOS, trying to understand those conditions. I had zero background in, medical science, anatomy, so I knew zero, but I started to feel like my symptoms were aligning with these conditions. And I decided to advocate for myself, and I decided that I wanted to get to the root of what was happening. And I finally got to the best, most renowned doctor specializing in endometriosis in Paris. And the waiting time for an appointment was like 6 to 8 months, something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
really, really terrible. But I wanted to see that doctor because I knew he was the best in this field. And when I was waiting for this appointment, I started implementing changes to my diet, to started taking supplements to help my liver, because I understood that liver played a huge role in inflammation. So I kind of took action before seeing him because I really wanted to be able to do something. You want to have your control back. And when I finally saw him and we did, I don't know, the 10th MRI of my life, because I had been through so many already. No one could pinpoint what was happening. But this guy, so this professor at a Parisian hospital, called me into his office after the MRI and was like, okay, sit down. So he showed me, the picture on the screen, like, okay, so this, and this is endometriosis. And I started crying in his office. And, this is this very old, like grumpy guy. And he was like, why are you crying? Like, it's no big deal. It's not that big. Or, the lesions are not so spread out. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm not crying because I have endometriosis. I'm crying because I'm not crazy.
Mm.
And you're acknowledging that during all these years, because it took them 3 years to diagnose my condition. 3 years. Yeah. I had been told, it's in my head and I should see someone for depression and things like that. So I was like, I'm crying of relief because you're finally putting a word on what's been happening to me and in my body. And I know that I'm not crazy and that I was right to keep fighting. So this was a big step for me in understanding more. And once you have, a name and a condition, you can start really digging, exploring. And I love investigating. Like that's my, that's one of my passions. So I started really reading a lot around endometriosis. What is inflammation? How does inflammation occur in your body? What makes it worse? What makes it better? So I started to introduce supplements when gluten-free, sugar-free. And this really made a tremendous impact on the condition itself. Of course, endometriosis is not really something you can cure, but it's something you can manage through specific actions and specific changes to your lifestyle. So I started doing that. And long story short, I helped myself feel better. So then some friends saw the differences and were asking me advice on, hey, I just saw this supplement. They were taking pictures in the pharmacy and asking me if I thought it was good. So I was helping my friends. And then my mom got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, which is ulcerative colitis. So it's digestive and colon condition that is very hard to live with. And the only solution she was given was basically cortisone, right? A form of cortisone that you take for this condition. And she was not given any advice on diet, on supplements, on lifestyle, on hydration, because my mom doesn't drink enough water. And I was like, this is the basic that you should cover before going into any type of drugs or medication. So then I started changing my mom's diet, introducing some supplements that were targeting rebuilding the lining of the intestine and of the colon. So I started introducing things for my mom because I really wanted to support her. And I felt that the medical system had failed her. Like they were not giving enough solutions for her. And she has seen tremendous improvements as well. She has been able to cut down by dividing by 2 the type of treatment she was taking. So she really felt better. And when I saw the difference in myself, in my mom, in my friends who were starting to, go gluten-free as well for their digestive issues, I thought, okay, why not make this official and get an official training? Because obviously I don't know everything. I just research by myself and I'm not in any way qualified to do these things. But I was really passionate about seeing that we can have a real impact and make a real difference by making such powerful but small changes in our daily lives, in our daily diet, and in our habits. And that's when I discovered that there was a program that actually covered the way that I was envisioning nutrition myself. So it's called Holistic Nutrition. So it has a true mind-body approach. So we don't just cover, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, and all of that. We also cover the psychology of disease, how symptoms show up in the body after you go through different types of trauma, and herbs. So it's nutrition, but it's more than nutrition. It's not just the food. It's everything else because everything is connected. It's not just you have your body and you have your mind, and sometimes there is a disease coming up. No, it's everything dances together and everything flows together. So you need to take that into consideration when you see a person. And not 2 persons with the same diagnosis will have the same root cause and will have the same approach on how to deal with that. So yeah, that was a very long answer for a short question, but that's how I came to training holistic nutrition.
Thank you so much for also sharing about your own journey because very often, this is like what helps also people to see like where you're coming from and what your journey was. And it seems that this is really the passion that you developed during
Yes.
through your own journey to, and the calling almost,
Yes.
it's like what I experience a lot with my colleagues as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I really like about what you shared just now, Marie, was the approach that you take in a holistic way, because it's really not just the mind and the body, it is everything together, as we know. Yeah, absolutely. And so you were sharing about the endometriosis and how that actually embarked you on this journey to dig deeper. Before we start talking more about fertility, I just wanted to ask you, because there are more and more, I'm reading newspapers and I'm seeing more and more young women developing endometriosis. Are you seeing like a change of lifestyle factors and the way how endometriosis is connected to that? Is it nutrition? Is it sleep? What are the main drivers for endometriosis? Because this is really something that I see happening, and so often my clients would say, well, it's genetics because my mother had it, so I got it too. And I'm wondering, is this really true?
There might be a genetic component, but as everything else in life, genetics is just part of who you are. But the environment, the lifestyle, and the way that you decide to treat your body means that you can also counteract the effect of whatever genetics you've been given. The fact that more and more young women or teens are diagnosed with endometriosis is first, I think that the medical field is now more aware of the prevalence of this condition, and the diagnosis is made earlier than before.
Mm.
This, as I told you, in my 20s, it took them 3 years to diagnose me. And I went through multiple MRIs, and I was in Paris. So, it's not like the worst, shabbiest hospitals in the world. Like it's supposed to be quite good. So I'm just imagining if you live remotely from a hospital, you're just suffering in silence, your GP just gives you painkillers every month, you can go undiagnosed for 10, 20, 30 years.
Wow.
I have clients who discovered they had endo when trying to conceive. They had no idea, but they have been living with that pain up
Mm.
to the point of throwing up um, all their life, like all their women's life. So I'm thinking it might not be so much that there is more endometriosis than before, but it's better recognized and better diagnosed. The other thing is environment and lifestyle could be playing a huge impact. As you know, even in the womb now, fetuses are exposed to microplastics through the way we cook, the way we reheat our foods, the way we drink. Bottled water can lead to microplastic. Um, and there is a lot of endocrine disruption happening from these microplastics. So a lot of estrogen dominance, which in turn is not favorable for endometriosis. We see a lot more of inflammation because younger and younger people become, diabetic, or at least insulin resistant, because they eat so much sugar from very young age. So I've seen kids like 8 years old be type 2 diabetic. So the inflammation caused by the insulin resistance can also be a breeding ground for inflammatory conditions such as endometriosis. So I wouldn't say it's one answer. It's a combination of different factors. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, definitely, definitely. Thank you. And yes, it's true. It's what you said, like, women very often discover that they have endometriosis only when they try to start conceiving. And then they feel really at loss, because they would then um, want to go with the medical approach, with the Western medical approach. I'm not saying that this is completely wrong, but
Yeah.
it can be quite invasive when you start doing that route. And so I wonder, from where you started off with your own story, and then studying nutrition more in depth, what ultimately led you into the field of fertility, what you just mentioned before?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I have been practicing holistic nutrition for about 3 years, so 21, 22, 23. And I was seeing all types of patients, right? I was seeing males, females, athletes, menopausal women, teens, because I really wanted to be able to help everyone. And I thought that every story, every case is really interesting for me to, dig deeper. I had people with gout, with rheumatoid arthritis, with depression, with alcohol addiction. So all of these cases for me were really a good, because I'm very curious. So I love to learn how to best support each and every one of them. So I've been doing that for 3 years. And in 2022, I got pregnant myself. And during my pregnancy, I started seeing that even though it was my job to be a nutritionist and to know a lot about nutrition and supplements, when I was pregnant myself, I still had a lot of questions. I was
Mm.
still wondering, oh, is this true that I shouldn't have raw eggs? Like, why shouldn't, like, what's the reason behind that? So I was starting to question the status quo in terms of pregnancy nutrition. And that led me to do another training in fertility and prenatal nutrition because I wanted
Mm.
to really have more in-depth knowledge around these topics. First of all, for myself, because then I wanted to know how to nourish myself the best during the 4 trimesters of pregnancy, because the fourth trimester is really the most important in terms of recovery. And then I learned more about fertility nutrition as well. And after learning about that, I thought, okay, now let's try to focus on that and see what difference I can make. So I started with a very, very small group of women. Um, and my challenge was to support their fertility over 6 weeks.
Mm.
So I had women going through IVF who had an IVF scheduled, let's say, in 4, 5 months. I had women wanting to try naturally before going for IVF. I had women who had been on IUIs for multiple cycles and wanted to improve their odds. So I run this kind of pilot group, and so really good improvements in the number of eggs retrieved, in the number of quality of eggs retrieved. So we had tremendous improvements in these
Mm.
women. So when I saw that, I started to really craft protocol and improve it and make it even stronger, even better, because I saw the real life results that I could have
Mm.
on fertility outcomes with what I believe were the main pillars that should be completely under control when you are trying to conceive and before you're even trying to conceive. So I, I designed this protocol for over 18 months.
Mhm.
So it's something that I think is really now the best approach that you can have if you really want to have a nutritional and a
Mm.
mind-body approach to fertility nutrition. Because ultimately, what is fertility nutrition and how is it different from regular healthy nutrition, healthy lifestyle? I would say that fertility nutrition is how to make sure that your body gets the best sources of fuel so that it feels safe enough to create life.
Yeah. Mm.
And most women, maybe some men too, but it's less frequent. Most women are starving themselves So even if they're not starving in terms of they feel hungry, they're starving themselves in terms of calories. So they are not eating enough calories. They're not eating enough protein. They are having coffee for breakfast and that's it. They are training or working out fasted. All of this is starving your body and is starving your body of the right nutrients. So if your body doesn't feel safe enough and nourished enough, there is no way that your body is going to say, oh, it's fine. I'm going to create another life from these non-sufficient building blocks because I don't have enough for myself. Why would I be creating some other life?
Mm.
So fertility nutrition is more than just thriving and having energy for yourself. It's having enough and then some to give your body the breathing space to be able to conceive, in the sense of it's safe for me now to conceive and to have proper and sufficient nutrients for this new baby to come. Does it
Mm.
make sense? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You are so right. And we see that actually quite often with clients that are sharing what they eat for breakfast or what they don't eat.
Mm.
And I always wonder, is this really giving them the strength and the energy that they really need to create that additional life in their body
Yes. Yeah.
to become pregnant? Absolutely. So you developed this program, Conceive with Confidence, right? It's called.
Yes. Yeah.
And is this program for a natural conception as well as for IVF, or is this two separate stories?
So the Conceive with Confidence program is the program that I ran with in person in Singapore with the women that I saw. Uh,
Mhm.
and it was my pilot, my original program that um, I wanted to really make it special and make it impactful enough so that I could then make it even more accessible. So
Mhm.
now the program is the Core Fertility Blueprint, and this one is fully online. So
Ah,
Core Fertility Blueprint is the one that I have even further developed after doing the Conceive with Confidence, and now it's fully online and it has 8 pillars, and the first one had only 6 pillars. So I made it even more thorough and even more so I included a pillar about male fertility,
mm,
and I included a pillar specifically on IVF, which
ah,
were not in the initial program. So to answer your question, I support women going through natural fertility. So they want to try natural pregnancy. I am supporting women going through IUI, IVF,
mm,
um, egg donors, egg freezing. And I also support same-sex couples. So yeah, I've seen multiple types of profiles for fertility, and we can have an impact on all of these profiles for different reasons. Um, I think the egg quality is a very big one that I get asked about. So
yes.
how can I improve my egg quality before the egg retrieval? So for specifically the case of IVF, we want to make sure, of course, that the stimulation phase and the egg retrieval goes well, and that the number and quality of the eggs that you retrieve is going to be optimal. But we also want to make sure that you allow yourself and your body time for recovery
Mm,
after that stimulation and that retrieval phase. And most women just think, oh, it's okay, like I'm done, like my eggs have been retrieved and I can just go back to eating normal, or go back to my everyday until the transfer is scheduled. But your body has been going through so much during the stimulation and the egg retrieval that you need to go through a very specific
mm,
nourishing reconstructing diet, and you need to give your body a lot of love after what it's been through, because then you're going to ask your body to also, carry a new life. So you want to make sure that the grounds are really fertile, are really strong. And most of the time, and I know the stimulation phase is very challenging and very hard. So after that, you just want to maybe chill, have a drink, and not pay attention to what you eat so much. So I know that mentally it's very exhausting. So it's hard to add that extra layer of mental load that is, planning for shopping and cooking and doing all the groceries and everything. So I'm trying to take that load off of women going through that by having everything figured out for them and be like, okay, you're in the recovery phase now. You should be doing this, this, and that. And here is the meal plan. Here is the grocery list. And you just need to basically make it or ask someone to make it for you, because you need to recover from everything that your body's been through.
Yes, and it goes through a lot when it's about an IVF program. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, mentally and emotionally and
Yeah.
physically, really on all levels.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the stress component, the stress inside your couple, maybe inside your family, relatives. The financial stress is really big too. The work stress, because you need to take some days off or time off from work. And most of the time, women are hiding what they're going through at work because it's still a very taboo topic. So it's so much stress and it's very isolating. So I
Yeah.
want to really support women who go through that phase. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's so great to hear that you acknowledge the fact what else is out there as well. It's not just usually just the IVF program, but it's about how this IVF program can impact so many other
Yeah.
areas. So the umbrella of infertility is usually really a huge one. Yeah. So can I ask you, so ideally for a woman that is planning to start IVF
Mhm.
in 3 months from now, what would be like the usual suggestion or approach that you would actually take on with someone who comes to you and says like, I have made up my mind. I want to now go for a IVF. What shall I do and how shall I take care? So can you walk us through like a kind of like such a flow on how you would advise such a woman or a couple?
Yes. There is many, many things that I need to cover, and that's why I created, a multi-hours program to cover everything. But to make it simple, I would go through the basics. So first of all, is there any things that we need to remove to make the environment safer? Are you smoking? Are you having a lot of coffee? How many cups per day? Should we cut down on this? How much units of alcohol are you having per week? Should we cut down on this? Are you in a household where other people smoke? If yes, we need to remove you or make a room that is smoke free and install like your air purifier, like all these things. Like, is there any contaminants and pollutants and things that are harmful for you right now that we should remove first?
Mhm.
So coffee, alcohol, tobacco, any potentially any medications that they might be on. That's something they need to discuss with their GP, but sometimes they can also be not beneficial for fertility. So we also need to discuss that. Once we have removed or at least decreased dramatically in your life, then what can we add to support your body? So let's go through the very, very basic hydration. How clean is your water? How much water are you having? Are you having enough minerals and electrolytes in your water?
Wow. Yeah.
That
That's
sounds
a
very
huge
basic, right?
factor. Yeah, it's so basic, right? But one wouldn't think.
But
Yeah.
you would be surprised how, like, the number of clients I see who don't drink enough water or enough minerals, because
Mm.
we live in a tropical climate. We're in Singapore. We lose a lot of minerals by sweating. If you don't
Yes.
replenish those minerals daily,
Hmm.
And if you only drink filtered water, you
Yeah.
don't have enough minerals in it. And if your diet is not rich in greens and fruits and veg that preferably are organic, which is not the case for most of us, you're not getting any minerals from your diet either, or not enough. So we need to make sure you get your minerals in.
Mm.
That's a basic step, but enough water. Second, digestion.
Mm.
How is your transit? Are you having a bowel movement every day? If not, that's a huge problem.
Mm.
Huge problem, because women with constipation are going to be facing somehow a recirculation of estrogens that the body is trying to clear out. You know, every day we produce new estrogens
Yes, yes.
so that the body maintains some estrogen levels at all times. And
Mm.
the old estrogen gets to be recycled, and some of it has to be cleared out through bowels, right? So feces.
Mm.
But
Mm.
if your bowels are not regular and if you are constipated, um, these estrogen can come back into circulation and can lead to a relative or absolute estrogen dominance. If you're
Mm.
estrogen dominant, you're going to have some hormone imbalance. It's going to wreck up your cycle. It's going to, it's going to influence the way that you ovulate, because then the estrogen progesterone balance is influenced and all of that. So it's going to block up the whole harmony of hormones that you're supposed to have. So once again, very basic thing, very like
Mm.
not something you would think about when you're like, oh, okay, I want to start to conceive. Yeah, I'm constipated. What's the big deal? It is a
Mm.
big deal.
Mm.
It is a big deal. So water, constipation, or at least having regular bowel movements, protein, huge one. Protein provides amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of every single cell in our body. So if you want to build whatever cell, like a skin cell, an eye cell, a gut cell, anything, and obviously a new life cell, you need to have enough amino acids, so enough protein. Um, I can say that 95% of women I see in my consultations do not eat enough protein.
Wow.
It's even for myself, it's really hard to reach the levels of protein that I'm supposed to reach every day. And it's my job.
Mm.
So can you imagine if you are not aware or consciously making choices every day to reach the minimum threshold of protein that you're supposed to get? Most women are protein deficient.
Really? And
Yes.
how would we find that out? By really looking at like what we drink and eat every day?
Yes.
So what's the average need for a woman?
So it's calculated on your weight and on your activity levels. So
Mm.
obviously, I cannot state for everyone, but for example, I'm 60 kg and I'm moderately active, and I need to have at least 100 grams of protein per day.
Oh, wow, that sounds a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. And
It
I
is a
don't
lot.
do like bodybuilding or anything crazy, right? It's it's
Yes.
it's my maintenance dose. So during pregnancy, I had to be around 120, 130 grams,
Wow.
which is a lot of protein.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
hard to reach. Mm.
It is. It really. I always thought like, your little piece of cheese and your milk in your coffee would do it, or some yogurt with some chia seeds or whatever, but it seems like that this is not covering.
No, it's not
Me.
covering. One
Oh,
egg is 6 grams of protein.
only. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, and
So,
and how about a cup of yogurt?
it depends if it's like Greek yogurt, high protein
Yeah.
yogurt, but it could be around eight eight to 10.
Again, not sufficient at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. So we
Yeah.
need to make conscious efforts at every meal, at every bite, to be like, okay, is this does this bring any type of amino acids? Does this bring any type of protein? And it can add up if you really make at every 3 meal or 4 meals a day that you're having, if you make a conscious effort to add some protein sources. It doesn't have to be animal-based, but of course it's going to go higher faster if you use animal-based sources of protein because they contain more per gram. But yeah, so protein deficiency is a very, very big one. So I think these three sound very basic, but you wouldn't believe the number of women who do not have these three covered. So if this is covered, I would be looking at, of course, the amount of fiber. So in terms of complex carbs, whole grains, vegetables, fruit in the diet in and of itself, because fiber is going to also make sure that you have regular bowel movements, but also is going to act as a broom, right, to sweep the intestines of anything that you would need to get rid of or to detox. And fruits and vegetables are going to also act as antioxidants, polyphenols, vitamins, minerals that, of course, we need on a daily basis. So fruit, veg, whether, fresh or frozen or canned, I know it's not ideal, but it's still better than nothing. So I would still recommend to go for whatever is convenient and affordable for you, because I know that money is also an issue. But it's still better to have these than to not have any veggies at all. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And how long in advance, or in a different way, how long does it take for a body to start responding to some adjustments in the digestion? This would be my number one question. And number two is like, how much in advance before an IVF do you need to do these adjustments to feel like that your follicle growth is responding, or that you feel ready for an IVF?
So to have a real impact on the egg quality, you need to give your body at least 3 to 4 months
Three to four.
to implement changes before you can see an impact, a real beneficial impact on the egg quality.
Okay.
The other question about how long does it take to start feeling better or see changes in your bowel movements, when you start drinking more water, when you start implementing, more fiber and more protein, it can be, I wouldn't say instant, but less than a week.
Oh, wow.
Less than a week. Yeah. If you start eating protein for breakfast, hydrating enough, and eating some form of fiber at every meal, you're going to start to have bowel movements every day for people who are blocked up. And you're going to see increased energy, more stable blood sugar within a week.
Wow.
I can guarantee. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, really powerful. And all of these can sound a little bit too, complicated or hard to implement. And I do it step by step in my program. So I have one step for, covering the foundational of nutrition and what is a healthy plate. And I also have then a pillar about managing your blood sugar, because your blood sugar equals, a managed blood sugar equals managed inflammation levels, and also managed energy. So better energy throughout the day, but also lowered inflammation. So blood sugar is also a very big one that I cover in my program. And hydration. People are so bored when I talk about hydration, because I feel like, all the health campaigns about you should drink 8 cups a day, blah, blah, blah. So everyone is so bored about being told to drink water. But it's more like the quality of your water that I'm going to take a look at. Like, what water are you drinking? And do you replenish your minerals? If so, do you use sea salt? Do you use mineral drops in your water? Do you use electrolytes when you go out for a run and you lose 2 liters of water, of sweat, and you come back home and you just drink tap water? That's not going to cut it. Your you're absolutely deficient in minerals after that. So I'm not just saying, hey, drink your 8 cups of water, because then, I mean, no one would want to pay for getting that kind of advice, right? But I'm going to take a look at what is the quality and how much are you getting. Um, so yeah, you will start seeing those improvements after, if you do it seriously, less than a week. Yeah.
Wow, this sounds amazing. And also, like, it gives us just again the confidence that we can trust our body, that
Yeah.
our body has the intelligence actually to respond to the
Yeah.
nurturing and to the right approach, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Our bodies are absolutely incredible
Incredible.
and resilient and strong.
Hmm.
The body just needs the right, fuel and the right tools
Yeah.
to be in the best condition to do its job. And sometimes we're punishing our body. We don't realize it, but we're punishing our body, and we don't give it what it needs, what it deserves. And then we're wondering, why is my body dysfunctioning? Why is my body not cooperating? But you've not been very kind to your body.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I'm looking at my glass of water now, and I'm wondering what kind of minerals are there and which ones are lacking. So is there a way for me to find it out, or do people bring their water to you
No, they
and
just
you do
tell me, usually
analysis
they tell
or
me what they use. So they tell me if
what
they drink tap
preference?
water.
Ah,
If
yeah.
they have a filter at home, I'm going to ask the type of filter. I'm going to look at what it removes and what it doesn't remove, because
Hmm.
removing contaminants is also a big thing. When I mentioned initially removing all contaminants and
Yeah.
toxicity, so I'm also going to look at what it's removing from, if you drink tap water. If you drink bottled water, I'm going to look at, the quality, where it's from. Possibly it came here, not possibly, but most likely it came here via cargo
Mm-hmm.
uh, ship.
Mm-hmm.
So in big metal containers for weeks under the sun. So you can imagine at what temperature this rose before reaching you.
Mm-hmm.
So would you drink
Wow.
your water if it had stayed under the sun on the beach for like 12 days? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So this is basically what you're drinking when you drink bottled water. Um, if they drink, so yeah, it's basically bottled water, tap water,
Mm-hmm.
and filtered water. So it can also come from, the Berkey filter, reverse osmosis filters, Kangen water. We have all of these options. So they usually tell me what they drink, and I'm telling them how we can improve.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so what you're saying, if I understood correctly, Marie, is that you can actually add your own minerals to your drinking
Correct.
water. And where do people buy these minerals? Are you
So
selling
I
them, or is there like a specific shop or
I
brand?
use iHerb online. So I
I-
order from iHerb, and I order my mineral drops from there.
Mm,
You can buy electrolytes, mineral drops. They all have different profiles, different combinations. So depending on if you want more magnesium or more chloride or more sodium, you're going to look at different brands. But yeah, I usually have a few that I recommend, and I also put my most recommended supplements in my program, so people receive a spreadsheet with all the supplements that I recommend. But yeah, the ones I use are from iHerb, and they are mineral drops. So you just add, the safest way that I found in Singapore to drink clean water is to have a filter that removes absolutely everything.
yeah.
So there's nothing left. It's
Mm,
just water with nothing in it. So zero TDS, that's what we call total sediment.
mhm.
Um, and then I remineralize it. That's the way
Oh,
I do it. If you
oh.
don't want to bother with mineral drops, you can invest in a very good high quality salt, sea salt preferably,
Mm.
unrefined sea salt. Yeah. And you can add, usually I recommend quarter teaspoon to your water daily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
very high quality, unrefined. It has to be unrefined. It shouldn't be white. If it's white, it doesn't
Yeah.
have minerals. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And if you say a quarter of a teaspoon, would that be in a big jug or
It doesn't matter. It's whatever you can
take?
palate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Wow, wow, this is a whole new world that is opening up here. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, Another question that comes through my mind is like, what's what is it that you start first looking at it? Is it mental health or is it nutrition? Because sometimes I feel that if someone has been experiencing for a longer term infertility on their journey, sometimes we can see how it has an effect on their mental health and their emotional health. And then it really takes a lot of energy to these people to actually really bring up their energy and reach out to a nutritionist or reach out to someone else for help. What do you feel comes first?
That's a really good question, and I'm sure you're facing that kind of
Yeah.
challenges daily in your practice from the patients who come to see you. There's a very big emotional load that comes with anything related to nutrition and food in general,
Yeah.
right? Foods are
Mm.
linked to emotions.
Mhm.
Food is linked to your childhood. Food is linked to how you were raised. Food is linked to family meals or lack of family meals, or, like the emotions around food in general is such a huge topic that 80% of the time, people who come to my practice to talk about diet or rebalance their diet, it's never about food. Never.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's about something else, right? Something deeper. But it's easier to go see a nutritionist than acknowledge that maybe you need something a little bit deeper. But you want to start with nutrition because you feel like this is something that you kind of understand and kind of can control.
Mm.
So I totally am on board with that, and I support everyone who walks through my door and needs help, because that's my duty as a practitioner.
Mm.
But sometimes, as you just mentioned, sometimes more is needed than just the nutritional intervention.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
And I think, sorry to interrupt, maybe you hear, because what you mentioned just before is also, I feel that if someone feels healthy and has sorted out their water and their bowel movement and maybe sleep, if you want to add that into the balance, I feel that you can already probably sense that there is a certain energy level getting back
yeah,
into.
of course.
And
Of course.
that's where you can then gauge whether you still need to take this further to someone else, like a counselor, like our team, or whether it's actually good enough to work with a nutritionist or whoever is in that league in that moment that can help you the best. Because you are taking a holistic approach as well, after all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And most of the time when people go through my programs or work one-on-one with me,
mm,
we, as you said, we need to tackle the basic first and get some energy back and some sleep back, and then we can tackle the elephant in the room, which is usually stress and anxiety.
yeah.
Stress and anxiety are high among most people. The hardest to work with are the people who say they are not stressed. Because people
Yes.
who say, I don't have any stress, I'm fine. No, I don't feel stressed. I sleep well. And then you ask about details, like what time do you go to sleep? Do you wake up in the morning? Yes, I wake up at 5 naturally. I'm like, kind of a red flag. Like all these things that you tend to think are normal because you've been like that maybe your whole life or your whole adult life. So the people who say they don't have any stress I usually wait for a couple of sessions before starting to introduce the fact that maybe we might need, some kind of other support than just nutrition.
Mhm.
Um, Especially when fertility is at stake.
Mm.
Um, Not saying you're not stressed at all and going through fertility challenges is, I mean, something doesn't add up for me. So
Yeah.
I will usually start to talk about, if it's not counselor or therapist, it could be, you know, hypnosis, could be
Mm.
EMDR. I also, most of the time when I work with women who have gone through miscarriages or stillbirth,
Mm.
I highly, highly encourage them to go through EMDR to desensitize the trauma around that,
Mhm.
because I strongly believe that trauma can also be stored in the body.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if trauma is stored in the body and your body remembers that pain and that suffering and that grief and that loss that this uh, horrible event has caused you, it's going to tense up in that area. It's going to lock things up. So I think the energy component around that is also very important. So when I sense that, someone went through a very traumatic stillbirth and had to give, birth to a baby that was not alive and things like that, like the
Mhm.
pain around that is so intense. Like they need
Mhm.
help processing that. And I'm not able to, give them the right support and the right space for that. I can help them through many other things and nourish their body and gain confidence and energy back, but I cannot help them process that grief and that pain and that energy block that is going to be around that womb area. So I think working alongside practitioners who understand the approach of working with holistic practitioners and working as a team, working together to help them, support them, recover, feel better. I think it's the key, but not all women are ready to tackle that piece first. And sometimes they want to tackle the nutrition, energy, sleep, supplements first, and then they are ready to maybe move on and add another piece to their healing. Yeah.
Yes. And this is like what we advise our clients as well when they are going through a grieving process, that there is no like one size fits all elements. It's like really grieving is so individual. Even for women and men, there is a different
Yeah.
way of grieving and how to process it. So that it's really to find out what's your pace and what is helping you the most when you are going through such challenging phases in your life. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that as well, because it is a big element that is actually happening, especially in the reproductive space as well,
Yeah.
for a natural conception as well as for those that choose to do IVF. Uh,
Mm.
we experience a lot of grief and trauma in this
Yes.
area. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Another question I wanted to ask you. We all have our highlights when we work with our clients. Is there a particular one, a particular story of one of your clients that you might want to share with our listeners without displaying any names?
Yes, of course. Um, I think I can share one of the the women that I worked with even before launching my program. So it was before that, but she's so lovely. Yeah, so she came to me because she had been diagnosed with PCOS and she had not had a period for, I want to say, a year, maybe a bit less, maybe 9 months.
Mhm.
So she had not had a period for a very long time. She had PCOS. She had insulin resistance. She was a little bit overweight, hirsutism, high testosterone. So, the typical profile of PCOS. And she wanted to have a baby. So But first of all, of course, she came to see me because she was like, I don't have a period. So obviously, if I don't have a period, we need to start, working on that before I can even think of having a baby. Um, and she was very, very lovely, very, diligent, like taking notes and wanting to do everything perfectly. So I told her, okay, let's start with breakfast. What do you have for breakfast? So I reviewed her whole diet. And it's not that she was not eating properly or unhealthy. It's just that the timing of the elements were a bit off. She was having a sweet breakfast. Um, Even though it's not too sweet, it was still too much carbs for someone with PCOS and with insulin resistance. So she thought it was healthy. For example, maybe it was, oats with some, I don't know, honey and some nuts. So in itself, it's not unhealthy. But for
Mhm.
someone with insulin resistance, it's still a lot of carbs. It's still very rich in carbs. So we had to completely switch that, make a savory breakfast, very rich in protein. We had to shift the order in which she ate food so that it would not spike her blood sugar and insulin. So I really worked on regulating her blood sugar, decreasing inflammation, introduced a few supplements because she had been vegetarian for a few years. So I was sure she didn't have enough B12. So we worked on blood sugar, supplements. I think hydration was an issue too. And we lowered caffeine. She was having a lot of caffeine, which is not great for PCOS either.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I followed her around 2 to 3 months. And then one day I'm like, hey, we haven't done our fourth session. Like, how are you? And she was like, oh, I'm having a break. I'm on vacation. And I'm like, oh, that's great. So just hit me up when you're back.
Mhm.
And then she returns and she's like, oh, can we have a session like next week? And I'm like, yeah. And then we meet for our session and she's like, and I'm like, how are you? It's been a while. And she had dropped a few pounds, but nothing crazy. But she was like, I'm feeling so much better, so much energy. But the most incredible thing was that she actually never got her period back. So that was the thing that we were working on
Yeah.
because she was pregnant already.
Oh! No way.
Yeah, she got
Wow.
pregnant directly without having her period any time. Like
Wow.
yeah, she actually ovulated at the third months after working together. So she ovulated but got
Go.
pregnant accidentally because she didn't even know she ovulated, right? She had
Yes.
no idea.
Yeah.
She started having cramps as PMS. She thought she was gonna get her period back, and she was like, "Oh, that's great. I'm cramping."
Ah,
Uh, like she thought her period was returning, but then the cramping just comes and goes and never really went away. And she was like, "Oh, my boobs are really sore," and all these kind of symptoms. And so she didn't want to believe it, of course, because she never had a period, so she didn't think she was pregnant. But then one day, I think she started having nausea. So she was like, okay, that's very weird. So she took a test and she was actually pregnant.
Wow, what a beautiful story. My goodness.
Yeah, that was really incredible. And even I was not expecting such rapid results, right? Because that was very fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3 months after working together, she got pregnant. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Wow. And this is so great to also hear from you a success story for those women that actually don't experience anymore the cycle or the bleeding, the monthly bleeding, and don't necessarily know how their ovulation is happening, right? And we have lots of women actually that are in such situations nowadays. Yeah.
Amenorrhea, yeah. Yeah, that's a really tricky part because you're
Mm.
thinking if I don't even bleed or ovulate, like how and when is
Mhm.
this going to happen for me? So I think we need to first look at that. Like what is happening? Is your prolactin too high? Like
Yeah.
why, like the labs are also very important. So whatever is happening, we need to look at the root cause and we need
Yeah.
to understand what is going on. But of course, the emotional stress and anxiety management is a very big part in ovulation and bleeding. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's something that you work on very
Yes.
regularly as well. But making sure you have enough calories and enough fuel is also a very big one, because as you can see, those very high performing athletes,
Mm,
females, they don't have a period anymore because their body fat is too low, and they
mm.
eat a very restrictive diet and things like that. So it can happen that just the way that you eat or overtrain can also suppress your period. So that's also something we want to take a look at.
Oh, wow. Yes. How it's everything is connected, right?
Yeah.
Ah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much for giving us the possibility and opportunity now to take a look into like some of the areas. And I know you have so much more to share, Marie. And the good thing is we are going to see you at the Virtus Fertility Fair on Saturday, the 28th of September.
27. Yeah.
27th, sorry, 27th September. Thank you for reminding me, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Royal Plaza on Scots Road.
Yes.
And you will be there with your own booth. So do you want to
Yes.
share with our listeners what you will be able to share at your booth so that they know already?
Yes, of course. So I will be giving a talk at that fair about microbiomes and fertility. So this is something that we did not talk about today, but microbiomes is a very important part, and that's also one of the pillars I cover in my program. So when I say microbiome, what do you think of?
My gut.
Yes, so that's one microbiome, but we
Okay.
actually have many more.
Oh.
Um, we have the oral microbiome in our mouth,
Mm. Mm.
and we have one that is crucial for fertility, the vaginal microbiome. Right?
Mm.
So the ecosystem of bacteria that lives in the vagina, even though no one wants to think about bacteria in your vagina, but that's how it is. And we have bacteria all over, our skin and everywhere.
Of course.
But the three that I'm going to talk about is the oral, vaginal, and gut microbiome, which are somehow interconnected and are very important for reproductive health. And that's very often overlooked, and we don't talk about these. So I'm going to be
Mm.
talking about that and endocrine disruptors. So
Wow.
everything that's the toxic load that we add to our daily exposure to, perfumes, fresheners, detergents, all of that, that can also impact your fertility. At the booth, I'm going to be giving a quiz. So people will be able to take a quiz and share the results with me, and they will have the possibility to book a personal review of their quiz with me
Mm.
afterwards. So
Mm.
if they want to discuss how to improve their results, we can book that further down to have a chat together. And I will also have a fun interactive play with different foods where people will need to uh, put which food is highest in which nutrients, and then they will have a few prizes to win if they get it in the right order. And yeah, I will also be sharing exclusive discounts on my two fertility programs, so Core Fertility Blueprint and the IVF Kickstart mini course. So I will be sharing exclusive discounts just for the attendees to the fair. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And I will also partner with Vizu, Vizu.co, which is a herbalist from Singapore, and she will be crafting special massage oils for the womb, specifically
Mm.
designed to support fertility, that we have co-created and that will be available at the booth. So we will also have a little activity around scents and what different scents of herbs and flowers um, say about, like, what your body feels drawn to, and what it means about if you need more grounding or more uplifting, or so yeah, it's going to be a very sensory in terms of experience.
Yes, yes, it sounds amazing. My goodness. So, for all those that are listening not now and are based in Singapore, Marie will be at the Virtus Fertility Fair on Saturday, 27th of September between 1 and 5 p.m. Please come by and take a look at what she has to share. There is so much.
And say
Yeah,
hi. Yeah, if you
yeah,
listen
say
to this
hi.
and come
Exactly.
over, say hi, and I will be happy to have a chat. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. My last question for you, Marie. I know you are a very busy woman and you have a child as well. So I know family life sometimes can take over. You have one day for your own. What would you do with that day?
Well, as you may have guessed from the intro question, I would sleep until noon, probably.
Yeah.
I would also, I love a good self-care like massage or spa or
Mm.
something where I like to get myself pampered. I'm a Taurus, so I love everything that's very sensory and smells good and feels beautiful. Probably some type of movement like a yin yoga or Pilates or I don't know, something that feels good and just lounging at the pool with a book, like the sun,
Mm.
the book, everything would feel quite good for me. And if I really have a whole day to myself, maybe seeing my girlfriends at night and go out for a drink. That would be lovely too.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It makes me want to join you, actually.
Next time, next time it happens.
Exactly. Well, thank you so, so much for taking the time today to join me on this podcast. I'm sure our listeners absolutely enjoyed it. For all those that tuned in, Marie Belin is found on Core Holistic, and she is a nutritionist specialized in fertility. And she will be very, very happy when you reach out to her and say hi.
Yes, of course, of course. They can find me at core.holistic on Instagram. I try to post fun and less fun content almost daily, so people can find, more details and more information and more practical, actionable actions on my Instagram if they want to. Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that too.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Tanya.
much and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Tanya. And thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to spread the word and share more about what I do.
It was such a delight. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fertility Counselor podcast. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. If you need support or have any questions, reach out to us via email at inquiries@counselingconnects.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Fertility Connects. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to learn more about us and the services we offer, head to www.fertilityconnects.com. And if you're looking for support beyond fertility, visit www.counselingconnects.com. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.